of you know that it is thanks to the love and support of this community that we were able to build a village for special needs children out in Tanzania. That village now provides a safe and loving home to nearly 200 children that were living in crisis. Most of these children are special needs, but a lot of these children were homeless, and the majority have no parents or guardians in this world other than the family that this community has allowed us to create. Everything that we do is made possible thanks to partners, those who choose to partner with our family and with it make everything that we do possible and keep our doors open for the next children who need some help or a safe and loving family home. If you'd like to hear more about our partnership program, you can do so by visiting www.sharetanzania.com/partnership. Thank you for all of the love and support, guys. We couldn't do this without you. Before I speak into this topic, this profoundly powerful and important topic that we as humans are being lured and lulled by a higher intelligence than our own into betraying reality, and in betraying reality, betraying the creator of that reality. Before I show how it is that we are led daily by our own anatomy and society to betray reality, I want to set a scene for you. Imagine, if you can, instead of being caught in the tanglement of the personal life and the details of your day, that we can zoom out a little. And when we zoom out, we see a great energy. And this great energy is loving and giving and compassionate. This great energy is in a constant state of pouring forth and offering the gift of its vitality outwardly. This energy is beyond time, beyond space, and beyond matter. And this energy is aware of all things and is all-knowing. And this energy recognizes that the points of awareness that holds it together deserve to try an experience beyond eternity. And yet, at the same time, that experience will allow that awareness to actually understand eternity. And so a field of consciousness of time, space, and matter is manifest from this all-knowing, all-powerful, loving force. To make that field of creation work and have meaning, and not simply be a script, a movie, infinite potential and free will is woven into that field of time, space, and matter. At this point, vessels to experience time, space, and matter grow out of the very field. The very field itself manifests these vessels. And the soul awareness from the dimension of our Creator, which is beyond and transcends time, space, and matter. Those elements of soul awareness begin to make their journey into the field of the 3D realm. All of this is happening because that force has love and compassion and wishes to offer the experience of life out of pure love and givingness. Within inside this structure of time, space, and matter, which stretches beyond the 3D realm that our bodies decode the bandwidth of, other sentient beings were created, and they could contain even more of that soul awareness than the human vessel, for example. Those beings with profound intelligence and capacity, dwelling in a dimension beyond the third, at some point gave birth, due to infinite potential, due to free will, to a rebellion, to a notion that they would like to be God. They too want to be God, but the problem now is they don't want to be God simply out of the generous heart pouring forth the gift of experience of something beyond eternity, the gift of time, space, matter, of sentient life and the beauty of it. They want to do it out of envy, jealousy, pride and arrogance. Power. They want power. They are lusting after the power that Creator is offering freely from love. And they lust after it for power, because they want status. They want to be in control. They want to say, I do not need a creator, I wish to be the origin of creation. And this rebellion begins a partition inside the realm of time, space and matter. And this partition leads these fallen beings, or these collections of fallen beings, to pursue a sojourn of trying to escape the creation field that this wonderful Creator has offered us, wishing to transcend time, space and matter and become God themselves. To do this, these beings set about on a path of attaining as much knowledge about the field of creation and its Creator as possible. They analyze, they dissect piece by piece by piece, and over almost timelessness, millions of years, they collect so much data, so much information, so much knowledge of Creator and the field of creation, that they begin to be able to mimic Creator. They begin to be able to adjust the creation of things, to genetically interfere, to even start to create their own simulated worlds that seem real. To do this, they need energy, but the Creator of all recognizes that what is happening is creating suffering. For this lust for power empties these beings of compassion and empathy. Their lust for control, to be God, it empties them of compassion and the empathy that they held. And so now they see other sentient life that could be simply enjoying the gift of creation and the exploration of it as something to utilize, as something to step on to get what you want. Creator, therefore, recognizes that feeding them with joy and peace and happiness and vitality is detrimental to his children, to the children born into the time, space and matter reality, in which, remember, the power of God has been limited due to God's integrity, due to Creator's integrity, to make sure this gift of life has meaning. These beings, therefore, decide that they need to create a system that extracts energy. And that system is a means to make the souls that are inhabiting sentient life to betray the origin of where they are from and behave in kinship to the fallen. The systems they create are there to take the soul awareness and make it choose the path of that separation of the fallen, And in this competition with Creator, the goal is to separate Creator's children from Creator and have them worship a way of life that is in rebellion to it. The Nag Hammadi scripture said this world is such a world, that it was created by the archons who are satanic. The fallen world, as Yeshua called it, Maya, as Buddha called it. Now this world, nevertheless, has value. I see the light in my newborn daughter's eyes, and I see the purity of where she is from and what she is. Yet, if not nurtured well, and if the satanic path is dangled enough in front of a human who may separate and feel suffering, that human can choose the rebellion state. It can choose to betray reality, to step over their fellow man to attain worldly desire and pleasure. All things that have been programmed into the fallen state of the human body and the fallen world. Therefore, this creation field we are in still has the hand of God in it. But as God restricted their power, Creator restricted their power here, you have to recognize that the shape of God's power, unrestricted, will only manifest in this world in the shape of a human life. Likewise, the fallen ones and their sojourn, their rebellion, that it's all about a personal meanness and not about the will of your Creator and union with your Creator, also needs a shape inside this realm, and humans are that shape. The notion of betraying reality with this image in mind is very important, for humanity has a profound power, a new toolbox that perceivably to those who don't understand it is supernatural. When they stand anchored away from and shielded from the betrayal of reality in their life. Truth. Christ had an intermediary, something that connects humanity with the realm of Christ, something that connects the soul awareness in time, space and matter to the origin of soul awareness, the Creator. In this reality, the original source code is here, and God is pouring forth, and you see the beauty of it. But there is a hyper-powerful intelligence that is also sending code here, and it has created a matrix within inside this world, and that matrix is deeply reliant on the human vessel being genetically altered, hacked, spiritually corrupted, however you want to term it. Betrayal of reality is to step outside of truth. Now this takes time. You have to slow down and see the importance of this. You are a liar. You betray reality every week. We all struggle with staying anchored upon reality. We do it by paraphrasing other people's words as our own and not speaking from an original divine inspired location within us. We do it by fear. Perhaps somebody comes to you, and this is an innocent way to betray reality, but it is a betrayal of reality. Someone comes to you and they ask you a question, and you know the answer, you know the truth, you know the representation of truth, which is the representation of the isness of reality. However, you recognize with your mind that this person is likely to respond to this truth negatively. They may be angered, they may judge you. And so now the fallen knowledge of good and evil operating system kicks in. And instead of walking by faith and simply standing in truth, your fear gives birth to the brain analyzing and summing up alternatives to the truth. So the brain works out what it can say instead of the truth, for it has fear that the truth will create a reaction that is not pleasant. And so it decides it will betray reality, betray truth, betray Creator, and follow their mind instead of truth. So their mind will conjure a new altered reality for the human being they are talking to, and will betray truth, Creator, and themselves. This is born from fear, but it's still a betrayal of reality. Other people become so disconnected from the peace of Creator that they become locked inside mind and body. The mind recalls pleasure from memory and anticipation of pleasure in the future. When this becomes your master, betrayal of truth, or lying, deceiving, manipulating to get your desire becomes heightened. Because the more you live in pursuit of pleasure and desire, the less inner peace you have. And in our world, inner peace has been pushed aside for pleasure in the most part by our society. And yet pleasure is a crumb in comparison to the gâteau of inner peace. It's incomparable, the joy of life, when you pursue inner peace, not pleasure. The human who is lost inside the mind as the master, pursuing pleasure, images from memory or anticipation in future, can't center here and now in inner peace. And so the mind tells them, because they feel uncomfortable, for they are permanently chasing pleasure to feel something in this world. So the mind begins to convince them, the fallen nature of man begins to convince them, it's okay, just betray reality, just lie to them, and then you'll get your pleasure quicker. Steal from them and you'll get your pleasure quicker. And of course, as the human does that, this simulated sin matrix, which has this code coming in that's not only from our Creator, but from those who wish to make us fall, to extract our energy, to make us betray the soul essence and follow the path of rebellion that they are in, so as they can take that energy, use it to continue their sojourn of trying to become God through technological advancement and understanding as much of the creation field as possible. You are selling the soul awareness that you are selling it in little parcels into the hands of that extraction sin matrix. Sin is to miss the mark. Many people, when they hear that word, they say it's conservative, it's nonsense, but it's not. Missing the mark is extremely important to understand. To be on the mark is to retain your vitality and yield it to a higher compassion, the will of the soul awareness within you, not the will of the flesh and the mind. When you fall away and you start selling your vitality into the comfortable prison cell of worldly desire, there you begin to sell parcels of your soul essence into the possession of Satan, and that energy is used to continue that sojourn of trying to be a creator themselves. The body also becomes addicted to overindulgence inside this reality. It becomes hormonally addicted. It becomes, inside of its very behavioral patterns, addicted to junk food, to sex, to entertainment. And that entertainment and junk food, or whatever it's going to be, brings about a momentary satiation from the discomfort of being separated from God, from the presence, from the awakened state. And as such, the soul awareness that lives by mind is also trapped, as I say, in the matrix of sin. But the soul awareness that has not overcome the impulse of the body of the five senses, it too becomes a slave to that extraction simulation. The body that craves a drug, the fallen nature of man will happily tell the soul awareness within you, don't worry. Let us just betray reality. Let us just lie and deceive. Let us even hurt people if we must, to fulfill the want of our body. And as you do, you worship the God of this world. You give your energy to the God of this world for what you have said. You have made a pact that yes, fallen world and God of this fallen world, your way is of more value to me in this instant than the eternal way of the soul essence that I know dwells within me. To miss the mark in sin is to take the vitality that is owed towards a higher compassion and to burn it up for selfish desire. This is solidified by the fallen technology building within it an image of a personal self, a personal meanness, a personal history, and it must be the driver of the moment. But if you can take that away, you will gain great advantage over the fallen simulation elements that are dragging you into there. But within you there is a voice, but for many it's been atrophied or silenced. This voice can be accessed. If I said to you, here's a lever, pull it, and all of your sin will go away. Are there any images that come up in your mind where you feel, I'll miss that? But deep down you know that it's also burning you up. Here's your holy conscience. If I said there's going to be a film crew, they're going to do a documentary, follow you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for the next 2 years, and they're going to stream everything online so everyone who you know can see it, which behaviors come up that you know you're going to have to get rid of to ensure that they don't see it and record it and broadcast it to the world? There are behaviors in you that you are ashamed of, but you spend so little time in the presence of the awakened state and with it your holy conscience that you don't hear it. But these exercises can awaken it, can make it pop out of you. Do that and awaken that space inside you. Sit with yourself right now. Take a breath and just ask an honest question here and now. What behaviors in my life that I engage in are definitely me taking the easy route? I know it's not going to build me up into living out my dreams and my destiny and becoming a wholesome, righteous man, one that I'm absolutely proud of on my deathbed. What are my behaviors that don't contribute to that? And they will reveal themselves. And that's your holy conscience trying to throw forward into your conscious mind that which is separating you from your Creator and your power. The sin matrix relies upon betrayal of reality. Anchoring in truth relies upon being present and aware in your reality without throwing anything into it from your memory, including that which you've studied, that which you've read. You have to have a relationship here and now with reality and your Creator. You have to be willing, in short, to step into humility. God so guides the humble, it says in Psalms. Humility. What is more humble than a human who enters a space in consciousness where they are lovingly aware with gratitude of every passing movement before their eyes and await divine inspiration to direct their life? They don't have their own will, analysis, plans, desires interfering with the passage of time. The loving awareness of this present moment is an empty vessel and it awaits the presence of the will of our Creator to guide all that it does. This is the ultimate truth of the spiritual rebirth that Christ was seeking to share with humanity. When we see sin, we have to make a decision to go to war with sin. But going to war is a helpful trick to program the duality of the mind that you have an enemy here. Many people get into New Age spirituality. They adopt spiritual practice like yoga, meditation, and they take it on board, but they have no acknowledgement of the will of Creator and Creator's plan for their life. As such, they can live selling their energy into the comfortable prison cell of worldly desire, and they can mask it and make themselves feel high afterwards with, for instance, yoga. Many of those people run back to Abrahamic faiths where the discussion of sin is present. For they were doing it and feeling so good they thought there were no rules, and they have a demonic encounter. Life starts to drop apart around them, for they are elevating their frequency into higher spiritual dimensions, but their waking life is anchoring itself in the hands of the fallen and the sin simulation matrix that we are polluted with, not living in entirely, but it's here through our anatomy and the temptations of those forces unseen inside this world. The body is a gift. The body is a blessing. But I sit here a man who, as a teenager, tried to kill himself. And at that time my body seemed to be nothing but a curse, a place of suffering, and the soul awareness within me was so ready to be out of that suffering and so unaware of how to escape it, that it decided that perhaps just killing the vessel would be the quickest way out. It is true that I could not live with myself, and that's because the I that I am is not the myself that I am. The myself, when we believe it to be what we are, this image of self in thought, makes us feel uncomfortable. We feel separated from a big, scary, confusing world by our skin as this little me inside it. When you connect with the I, that discomfort is gone. But in that discomfort, the extraction matrix starts. It comes at you with codes to tempt you, opportunities to tempt you, to lead you astray, to betray God, betray reality. We are able to overcome this, and we overcome it by bringing in a program of repentance. And there you go to war with sin. And the dual mind, the knowledge of good and evil operating system, likes these terms. War, right, there's an enemy. But what it doesn't like is that it can't beat that enemy. For the mind seeing that there is an enemy in duality, the awareness must recognize that the ability to see the enemy and the image of self seeing the enemy, it is all part of the enemy's power. And so yes, we must declare war, and men have done it before. William Booth was the founder of the Salvation Army. Somehow declaring war on sin worked in his time. His fellow man got behind him, and they went to war on sin. But they soon realized that they couldn't win through fists, through toughness, through wrestling it, through fighting it, through will alone. They realized that they had to bury it. And the way you bury it is through the presence of the great love of God, to mimic the generous heart, to mimic it and pour forth the opportunity for creation. You pour forth the opportunity for a love without condition. To do that, we must transcend the knowledge of good and evil operating system and recognize that the love with which we've been loving is the love that we are. And it was allowed inside the sin matrix, or without it, the energy that is extracted and wanted by humans who choose to betray the Christic path, to pursue the satanic path of rebellion, is not accessible. So we live our life saying, I love you, and we think we generate that love. But the reality is, when the meanness goes, when the image of self in thought goes, all that remains is that love. It's potent, it's vibrant, it's pouring out like a fountain. It is a loving awareness, and it gives and gives and gives. But it is grieved by betrayal in the same way that we in ourselves are grieved by betrayal. We must go to war with sin, the sin matrix. The fallen ones are here, they are in other dimensions as well. I begin to believe that these other dimensions have sentient intelligence with technology, and that they even create avatars that move around in the 3D realm whilst they sit happily in a different dimension to this one. I truly feel, and I will speak about this in future, I've had experience of this with my physical eyes, witnessing such an avatar in this realm. The body and the mind is going to be that which connects you to the sin matrix. The body can be reset by fasting. You simply say no to the body's 5 sense want for food and anchoring inside this simulation, partially sin matrix. You say no, you transcend it. You allow your awareness to disconnect from the body, and you remember where you are from. As that happens, this kind cometh out except through fasting and prayer. You drive out your addictions. You reset the mind, you reset the body and its hormonal systems. It's going to be grueling, it's going to be difficult, and your fallen operating system is going to lie to you and tell you that you can't do it. It's going to tell you that this is not for you. It's going to tell you that it's too dangerous for you, but it's not dangerous for anybody else. The mind will challenge its own demise, for it is being fueled by a certain force that is not for you necessarily. It's for itself through you. Likewise with the mind, the ability to chase memories and anticipation of pleasure. We must watch the mind. Keep watching it and recognize that if you are able to watch and observe the movement of thought, all of the images of self in thought, your personal history, your memories, are not who you are. They are a data bank, a record of a passage through time, but you here and now, present, liberated, sovereign, are able to be aware of it. And the longer you spend being aware of your thoughts, being aware of your mind requesting pleasure, or the body's impulse requesting pleasure, the longer you stay aware of that, the more you become at home that you are the loving awareness that is aware of thought. The thinker of thought is thought itself. You are not thought. And so, the ability to disconnect ourselves from the sin matrix, that capacity, it is born through grace, through a recognition that God's presence is not earned, God's love is not earned. And when that happens, it means that you stop engaging the analytical mind, the knowledge of good and evil operating system within there, to try and attain God. And you recognize that you always had the presence of Creator, only it was masked by thought. This is the doorway of grace. But from there, discipline is needed to start bringing into this realm the Christic light. Discipline is where you give birth to your fruit. And if you have no control over your mind's want for pleasure in the past from memory, anticipation of it in the future, if you can't control that, you are going to fall away from the will of God, and you're going to start selling your soul into the hands of the God of this world. If you can't control the addictions of your body, the impulses of your body, you must fast to reset it. This is the only tool I've seen that truly works. And of course it's uncomfortable, but you've spent the majority of your life overindulging in pleasure, and the journey back to inner peace is a little bit bumpy. It's a little bit rough, but once you get there, it's worth it, for it exceeds every pleasure of the world. Conquering the matrix of sin is done with soft eyes, with an open heart. And there you peacefully move in to your meditation, you peacefully move into your fasting, and ultimately you peacefully move into your humility, where the personal me takes a knee, goes to sleep for a while, and all that remains is the vibrant awareness that you were as a baby before you constructed a personal history in me. And you wait in that humble space, an empty space, lovingly aware of every passing cloud, of every sound, of every feeling, and await the divine inspiration from your Creator to show you what is next. For God needs a shape in this world. God's love and plan needs a shape, and you are it. But Satan's plan and rebellion needs a shape, and you are it. But hopefully you will recognize this and stand in the shape of God's love manifest in action, speech, and motivation of intelligence. It is a matrix of sin, and it's there to make you, as a soul, as loving awareness, betray reality, betray your Creator, and live by the way of the fallen. And you will not be rewarded in the next life for that. You will become nothing but an energy cell for them. In this life they may reward you with all of the worldly desires you want, as you ensnare more and more into their way of rebellion, into this meanness and this selfishness. But that reward is short. Remember that. I'll leave it there. God bless, guys. Remember, the one who is trying to find the awakened state, it is the one in the way. It's the reason that you can't remember and recognize that you were born self-illuminated.
This week I've been dealing with street children and the issues they face whilst out on the street in the local town. And it's a difficult subject to talk about. These boys and girls are not only homeless and hungry, not only have no one to love them, nowhere to sleep, no food in their bellies, often covered in various different types of fungal infections and stuff because of lack of hygiene, get involved with drugs, but unbelievably there's even worse things happen to these boys and girls. This week I had to sit and listen to a child tell me that he had been raped by men in the town. It became such a frequent and regular occurrence that it was no longer abuse and rape to him, it was something that happens. So instead of them having to find him, he would go to where this was going on, to be abused, because that was his physical contact in life, I guess. That was his routine. The young children who were hitting the streets, these men will then take younger boys to that boy whilst he does things to that child. And thus the vicious cycle continues. And the only way to stop the cycle is to take the children out. And there's no need for these children to suffer like this. All they need is a place to go. If they had a place to go, somewhere safe, where these men can't get to them, they wouldn't have this problem.